A very good evening. We're coming to you live from the Newsfirst studios right here in Colombo with Primetime News, your trusted news bulletin. A very good evening. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
Good evening. I'm Shaindra Rampati. Let's start off the look at tonight's headlines. Prime Minister says red notice not sufficient to bring back Arjuna Mahendran. Request to be made from Singapore to extradite Mahendran. State Minister Sujeeva Senasinghe responds to allegations on taking money from Aloysius. Malaysian Central Bank Governor resigns. Sri Lanka take on West Indies in a bid to make history in the Caribbean.
Starting off with a look at the developing story tonight. Today, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe responded to oral questions raised by members of Parliament. Chief Opposition Whip Anura Kumara Dissanayake questioned the Prime Minister on why certain individuals are not being taken into custody despite there being international red warrants against them.
What measures has the government taken to produce Jaliya Wickremesuriya, Udayanga Weerathunga and Arjuna Mahendran to court for legal procedures in the country? Will the government take that responsibility?
While warrants have been issued on Jaliya Wickremesuriya, who served as the ambassador to the United States from 2008 to 2014, he has not appeared in court as yet. Investigations have revealed that the surety and the suspect are overseas. On the 12th of February, an international red warrant was issued on Udayanga Weerathunga. And on the 17th of May this year, the Defence Secretary, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, made a request to the Secretary of the Ministry of Justice of the United Arab Emirates to extradite Udayanga Weerathunga to Sri Lanka. International support has been sought to locate the whereabouts of Arjuna Mahendran and bring him back to the country. As a person cannot be arrested in that country solely based on a police red notice, the government of Singapore has been notified to follow extradition laws to secure his extradition. Therefore, the Criminal Investigations Department has made a request to the Defence Secretary of this country to extradite Arjuna Mahendran under extradition laws.
When I raised a question in this parliament after Arjuna Mahendran left to Singapore, you responded saying he went there to attend a wedding ceremony and that he would return soon. Then I felt if you also know about his journeys to attend weddings, it clearly shows the two of you share a close relationship. You are the Prime Minister of the country. The Central Bank Governor is appointed by Cabinet based on your recommendation. Therefore, I believe, without hiding behind international warrants, red notices, Interpol's assistance and extradition laws, you have a responsibility to bring him back to the country because you are his friend.
When Arjuna Mahendran worked under me, he informed me when he went overseas. Since there was an issue like this at the time, he told me he was attending a wedding and he would be back soon after. The incumbent Central Bank Governor also informs me when he travels overseas. To be honest, I did not have any ties with Arjuna Mahendran when we went to commissions. I was not aware of his last whereabouts. I occasionally get to know where he is. There is a habit in Singapore where people constantly change houses. So I am not aware of any of them. I do not know where Udayanga Weerathunga is. I have met Jaliya but never had any contact with him. I am seeking the assistance of the relevant units in the government for that process. Then it was said that I am the one helping. Following the expose on the central bank treasury bond scam, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe defended fugitive former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran on a number of occasions in Parliament.
There is nothing to claim the Governor of the Central Bank was involved in this. He had given instructions in the presence of two other Deputy Governors. The allegation the Governor intervened in the tender process is a baseless one. On the 27th of February, I appointed a three-member committee to inquire into the 30-year bond issue. How else am I to look at this? This cannot be referred to the Monetary Board. I need to be satisfied with this first.
After the bond scam was exposed, the Prime Minister defended Mahendran when the latter went overseas.
When I met Arjuna Mahendran last week, he said that he will be attending a wedding and will return. He hasn't fled the country like Udayanga Weerathunga.
Many shocking details over the bond issue were revealed through the COPE report and the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. An Interpol red notice had been issued on former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, and Sri Lanka courts issued a warrant for his arrest as he is a suspect in the case filed over the bond scam. The entire country was aware that a Singapore national was appointed to this position solely because of the friendship he had with the Prime Minister and with his blessings. The Prime Minister now says the Interpol red notice is not sufficient to bring back Mahendran to the country. Who and what is being protected? Why did Malik Samaravikrama, who did not hold any ministerial position, attend the breakfast meeting that took place the day before the controversial treasury bond took place in 2015? Were Malik Samaravikrama and Kabir Hashim questioned in a proper manner at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry? Yesterday, Minister Kabir Hashim said when the bond scam took place, he did not have any power to even appoint a chairman to a state bank. If this is so, when the March 2016 bond scam took place, who instructed the state banks to bid low? Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, Malik Samaravikrama and Kabir Hashim give reasons from time to time on the matter. Yet, Arjuna Mahendran still remains at large. After the President decided not to grant a service extension to Mahendran to continue as the central bank governor, the Prime Minister appoints him as the chief of his 5-year plan. It did not stop from there. Mahendran was taken to Singapore to attend a number of events. Who is being protected? Who are the real thieves? State Minister Sujeeva Senasinghe, returned to the island from an overseas trip, was questioned by journalists at the Bandaranaike International Airport. They had called my coordinating secretary and interrogated. This is actually a joke. There were 2 or 3 teams to carry out campaign activities during the time of the election. This was 3 years ago in August 2015. Even we cannot recall what happened. There are various people giving us aid. I was placed second in Colombo. They now say the Mendes company and various companies were involved in this. Mendes was a legal company back then. It is a legal company even now. There are people who supported us during the election. We cannot find out who the people are. There is no such thing to say that you need to support using checks. You can do so with cash. That is being used to sling mud at me unjustly. We do not know. Our friends ran the election campaign. We have to ask these people. We will have to provide answers based on the documents that we have. What is relevant here is whether the minister in charge of bonds, the officials at the central bank and the EPF, ETF officers provided inside information or not. They have not even filed a single case for 3 years. They are not connected with the bond. A businessman can't support any politician. They say there are phone conversations. Anyone can speak to anyone. That is not what is relevant. What is relevant is the Prime Minister. He was the minister in charge.
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party's newly appointed General Secretary, Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa, called on the Mahanayaka Theros today.
Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa paid homage to the temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic and called on the chief prelate of the Asgiri chapter of the Siam sect. Thereafter, the SLFP General Secretary called on the Chief Prelate of the Asgiri Pirivena, Venerable Narampanave Ananda Thero, where he received the Thero's blessings for the party's future course of action. The biggest duty is to reunite everyone who are scattered now and strengthen the party. If Mr. Bandaranaike created the 5 major forces back then, I think it is important to gather more to it, like the businessmen as well. Though they weren't important back then, they are an essential part today. Professor Rohana Lakshman Piyadasa thereafter called on the chief prelates of the Malvata chapter of the Siam sect. The 5 major forces are lost. Everyone must come together and create a program for the benefit of the people. Let's work with dedication. People don't think about a policy now. They switch to whichever side is favorable. Those in the UNP are crossing over to the SLFP and those in the SLFP are crossing over to the UNP. It does not matter if they do that, as long as it is for the greater good of the country and its people. But if it is for himself, that is wrong. I will work towards re-emerging the grassroots level SLFPers within a short period of time and form a progressive and leftist SLFP government by uniting everyone in the party who have been left in despair and are frustrated. A new government which is against the United National Party, which is stealing and destroying the country's wealth, will be created. The joint opposition held a media briefing in Colombo today.
They are preparing to provide a monthly allowance of 700,000 rupees to UNP parliamentarians. In addition, they will be provided an air-conditioned room, a vehicle and all of these facilities. The government is trying very hard to keep all of these parliamentarians within the government by providing all of these.
The Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Rajitha Senaratne was questioned regarding the 100-day program of the government at the Cabinet media briefing today.
It was a group effort. People like Venerable Ratana Thera, Asoka Begunwardana, Minister Champika Ranawaka, civil society representatives, and even I took part. At that time, the President had instructed the current Prime Minister to liaise with everyone and get this done. We do. I will not just look at it, I will speak about it as well. There is no other proposal than to keep the two parties moving forward together. If they are engaging in politics, they need to know this.
joint
How far do you think the joint opposition will be able to run in this condition? They got the chance to appoint the deputy speaker, but they were divided. Do you think such groups could come together to form a government?
joint opposition
Yes, write it down that I said so.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා ප්‍රකාශපත් කරනවා එතුමා නැවත දේශපාලනයට එනවා එතුමා ජනාධිපතිතුමා සරණට එනවා කියන අදහසක්. ඒක මහින්ද අමරවීර ඇමතිවරයාත් කියනවා. එතකොට පොදු ජන පෙරමුණේනොත් නායකයෙකු වෙනවා. එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයත් නායකත්වයේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා ඉදිරිපත් කරන කියන අදහසක් අකිල විරාජ්‍ය ඇමතිවරයා ප්‍රකාශ කරා. ඔබතුමා සිටගන්නේ කොයි පිළේද?
I am in the United National Front. I want to amalgamate the two and complete the task.
The recording of evidence at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Mihin Lanka continued today as well. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farazan filed this report from the BMICH.
Evidence was recorded from Indika Gunawardana, the representative from the Department of Registrar of Companies. Indika Gunawardana was questioned about the registration of Sri Lankan Catering today. During 2010 and 2011, Sri Lankan Catering had submitted an application to the Registrar of Companies to change their name from Sri Lankan Catering Private Limited to Sri Lankan Catering PLC as a public listed company. However, it was only changed as Sri Lankan Catering Limited. According to the witness, that was because, according to the due process, if one company is to become a listed company, approval must be obtained from the Colombo Stock Exchange, and thereafter the documents must be provided to the Registrar of Companies. As this process was not done, Sri Lankan Catering Private Limited was only changed to Sri Lankan Catering Limited. Today, the witness was requested to submit the share capital for Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering, Mihin Lanka from 2006 to 2018 as recorded with the Registrar of Companies within the next 2 weeks. Today, the sittings were adjourned as the previous day's proceedings were not available for the commissioners and the attorneys to peruse. Senior Deputy Solicitor General Neil Unambua requested the commissioners to write to the Presidential Secretariat of this issue in preparing proceedings, as it has an impact on the interviews and the investigations that are underway. The Commission will convene again tomorrow.
Now, the President has instructed the Minister of Finance to inform the relevant institutions in writing to not charge the 14% withholding tax when selling teledramas. The President has made this announcement this afternoon when artists representing various unions involved in the teledrama and cinema industries called on him.
The President's Media Division said that the artists and union representatives raised the issues they face as a result of the revised tax policies of the government. The President has agreed to look into these issues and provide favourable solutions. The broad programmes to be implemented by the government to protect and conserve the local cinema and teledrama industries have been discussed at the meeting. There are essential matters the government should do to protect and strengthen the local cinema and teledrama industries. These should be implemented as policies. We have to do things to appreciate the local talent. We have to look at what we can do to remove the barriers in the cinema and teledrama industries. We have to look at what the policy of the government is with regard to this.
Voice of the People. News from across the nation, reported by Newsfirst regional correspondents.
Though it has been 6 years since an anicut was constructed in Sirikanduyaya in Alahara, the canals to carry water to the fields have not been dug. The water that gets collected in the Anicut flows to the Amban River without it being utilized for any purpose. There are over 200 agrarian families in this area who have been unable to carry out the cultivations due to the lack of water.
This was constructed under 2 or 3 ministers. This has not been completed. This project will benefit over 200 agrarian families. We beg the President to finish constructing these canals.
The people living in Morogolla and Illagolla areas in Galuda are facing hardships as the road that was damaged due to a landslide in 2014 has not been constructed as of yet. The Divisional Secretariat said steps will be taken to repair the road as soon as possible. The people living in the Tiripane area in Anuradhapura have been battling with the wild elephant conflict. Area residents claim inaction of the wildlife officials has caused the situation to worsen. Allegations are being raised over the conduct of the opposition when the vote to select a deputy speaker in Parliament took place yesterday.
The United National Party and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party put forward their nominees for the post of Deputy Speaker of Parliament yesterday. At that moment, the opposition leader said he would support the SLFP candidate, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandapulle.
If there is a proposal by the SLFP in regard to a Deputy Speaker, we bow to that proposal and accept that on the basis of a consensus the whole House.
When the vacancy arose, I think the first name that the government group suggested was SLFP member from the Jaffna district, but some of the parties were not willing. Convention is 2 members from the government, not 2 members from the opposition benches. And when the government first suggested a member, it's you all who were opposed to it, not us.
However, when the vote took place, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandapulle did not receive the support of MP Sambandhan or any of the TNA MPs. When the vote was taking place, these MPs were not in the parliamentary chamber but were seen in the parliament lobby.
Angajan sahodharaya Sri Lankan Rajapaksa Pakshe idiripat කරනකොට
When MP Angajan was put forward from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, the TNA opposed it and he was not put forward. The TNA is acting in our presence. Dr. Sudarshini Fernandapulle was proposed and he stepped out when the vote took place. Why was it done? Whose requirement was that? Simandiran was vocal about it and the others took him away with them.
සුමන්දිරන් සහෝදරයා තද්දැඩි ලෙස විවේචනය වෙලා අර ගොල්ලත් තනකාගෙන ගියා.
It was earlier reported it was the President himself who had proposed the name of UPFA MP Angajan Ramanathan for the post of Deputy Speaker. Angajan Ramanathan posted on Twitter stating, according to Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, TNA objected to a Tamil being appointed as Deputy Speaker. He also said he thanks the leader of the opposition and M.A. Sumandiran for working tirelessly to prevent a fellow Tamil from becoming the Deputy Speaker of the 15th Parliament after 48 years. The Tamil National Alliance also voted in favour of the budgets brought forward by the Government of Good Governance after it was elected. In the recent days, MP Sivashakti Anandan continuously alleged the movement of money could be the reason the TNA is extending its support to the government. He claims all the MPs in the Tamil National Alliance except for him were given 20 million rupees each via the Prime Minister's ministry. Following his statement, several TNA MPs publicly accepted they obtained money while others rejected this claim. When the Bond Commission report was to be debated in Parliament, TNA parliamentarian M.A. Sumandiran requested for the Tamil translation of the report, which prompted to postpone parliamentary sittings. At that time, allegations were made claiming the Tamil National Alliance was working to protect the powerful people in government involved in the bond scam. The TNA MPs did not voice their opinion until the very last minute over the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister. But when the vote took place, they voted in favour of the Prime Minister. Before the vote on the no-confidence motion, the TNA held talks with the Prime Minister.
It is disappointing the TNA did not accept the nomination of Angajan Ramanathan. They should have supported it. These people are supporting the UNP and this view is once again establishing itself among the Tamil-speaking people.
The SLFP's choice was Angajan Ramanathan. Ramanathan says it was the TNA that winged it. They are doing so to secure their positions. They prevented a Tamil from being appointed. They worked with the SLFP to establish power in the local government bodies. Why are they having two different stances?
The Sri Lanka Freedom Party proposed the name of Angajan Ramanathan and the TNA opposed it. The Prime Minister requested the SLFP to propose someone else, but they did not have another name. He asked if there was no Deputy Minister to accept it. They had no one, and the President said, appoint someone we want. Then we proposed Ananda Kumarasiri. Then there was a request. The President proposed Dr. Fernando Pulle. The Prime Minister said a decision was taken at the party group meeting and the President said there was no issue. You did not ask how the joint opposition saw it being washed away. It was a joint party. Some said they will not vote. We saw how some stepped away when the vote was about to take place. There were no Rajapaksas in the chamber. The MPs from the joint opposition took part. Some were not present. A majority who were there voted. The agreement was for the post of Speaker to be given to the UNP and the post of Deputy Speaker to be given to the SLFP. The situation has changed. We request the government, which has been deceiving the people, to remove the label called government. There is no national government today.
The renovation of the main hall at the Badagiriya Yahangala Primary School in Hambantota began today under the Gammadda initiative. Lanka PLC today joined Gammadda to launch yet another initiative, this time in the Hambantota district.
The main building of the Yahangala Primary School in Hambantota was in a dilapidated state and had been neglected by authorities. Today, the Gammadda team arrived in Hambantota along with officials from Islon to launch the renovation project of the building, which will serve up to 60 students who use the building on a daily basis.
Gammadda has come to Hambantota today and they've come to the Yahangala Primary School, and as you can see, as promised, we have already started work on the construction of the ceiling of the grade 5 building here at the Yahangala Primary School. This building has been in terrible condition over the last few years, and finally, after long last, the calls of these people have been heeded. It has indeed been an experience here in Hambantota, and it goes on to show how much more work needs to be done. Gammadda will continue to strive and will continue to do their best to ensure that rural Sri Lanka gets the best of the best, especially when it comes to education. Signing off for News First and the Gammadda team from here in Hambantota, I'm Deshan Gonawala.
And finally, on sports news tonight, West Indies won the toss and elected to bat first against Sri Lanka in the first test of the three-match series, which is currently underway at Port of Spain in Trinidad.
Well, the hosts were on 95 runs for the loss of 3 wickets a short while ago in their first innings. And that is a wrap of Primetime News. I'm Shahin Jarampati.
And I'm Mahina Bongza. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, good night and take care.